the Texas Bankers Association introduced a reward of $5,000 for anyone who shot a bank robber during the crime. And that's quite a lot of money. That was the equivalent of $88,000 today.
Wow.
And so a slight side note, because I wanted to dig into this. How much does that mean?
Yeah.
And so in the UK, the average price for a hitman is at around £20,000.
Where are they getting this information from? Is there some kind of like moneysavingexpert.com?
MoneysavingHitman.com.
MoneysavingHitman.com. Compare your prices for the most competitive hitman around.
Submit your request. Welcome to the Compendium, an assembly of festive tales that you won't be reading to your kids this Christmas. This story comes with a warning. Don't piss off Texans.
Ooh, a festive story where you don't piss off a Texan.
Yeah.
I guess this is our Christmas episode, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a sort of a Christmas special, if you will.
Yeah.
But, any ideas of what we could be covering today?
Well, I mean, do you know what? I have absolutely no idea. It's got to be about Santa Claus, right? Because it's Christmas.
It's Christmas. Well, you are right. It is about Santa, and it is about Christmas, sorta. Today, we're covering one of the most famous manhunts in Texas and US history. A man dressed as Santa Claus robs a bank in what was intended to be a non-violent crime.
Oh.
That didn't go quite to plan.
No. Bad Santa.
In fact, it couldn't really go much worse. As a result, it ended with people shot to death.
Shot to death. So fatalities. Shot to death is such a weird way of saying that. Shot to death.
But yeah, well,
the way you said it, actually, when I just said it and shot to death, that sounds quite ominous. But the way you said it was just weird.
What's people shot to death?
Shot to death.
Shot to death.
Okay.
8 were wounded. 3 were kidnapped. 1 was electrocuted. And another one lynched.
What? Hang on. Lynched? When was this?
Merry Christmas. Yeah, who wants a nice, warm and fuzzy tale when you could be served this Christmas?
Yeah, not me.
I mean, you could still, have some mulled wine and sit by the fire whilst you listen to this. You can still try and feel festive.
Well, I mean, this is perfect for us because I don't know how festive this is going to be because we've only just put up our Christmas tree because obviously we record this just a couple of weeks before. So, yeah, hopefully... Well, I don't see this really getting me into the Christmas spirit of things.
No.
I could be wrong.
Well, if it does, I'll be concerned.
Yeah. There's nothing like a bit of death and murder to get you into the Christmas spirit.
But before we go any further, let's do introductions. For those of you tuning in for the first time, I'm your host today, Adam Cox.
And I'm your co-host, Kyle Reese.
You're listening to The Compendium, an assembly of fascinating and intriguing things. We're a weekly variety podcast where ordinarily Kyle tells me, Adam, all about a topic that he thinks that I will find both fascinating and intriguing, from groundbreaking events to unforgettable people.
It'd be nice if you return the favour. I tell you fascinating and intriguing things. You just serve me whatever you scrape from the bottom of the barrel.
I'll have you know, some of my episodes are some of the best received episodes, Kyle.
This is true, actually. I think maybe we need a new host in the driving seat permanently, right?
Yeah. But anyway, we do this in 1 hour-ish episodes every week, giving you just enough information to stand your ground at a social gathering.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into the main topic today, it's time, I think, Kyle,
for all the latest things! So, Adam, as you know, I'm a massive fan of the doom scrolling.
Yes.
So I was on TikTok and I came across a story about this woman who had matched with this guy on Tinder or Hinge. She doesn't say which one it is. So they are hitting it off and they're vibing, all that kind of Gen Z language that they have. And he quickly asks her out on a date to the specific restaurant, right? And everything seems cool and the date is set and she's all excited. She gets dressed up. And she's excited about the evening. But when she arrives at the restaurant, he's a no-show.
Oh, no.
I know.
Did he, see her before he arrived and then ran away?
Why does everyone keep saying that? So she's trying to reach out to him, but he's unmatched her on the app. So she's super confused and she's really pissed off. But she's all dressed up and she's already there at the restaurant. So she's like, well, I might as well just have something to eat, right? So later, she's scrolling through Facebook and she sees this post from another girl who had the exact same experience at the same restaurant.
That's weird.
Yeah. So it turns out that some restaurants are creating fake profiles on dating apps to lure people in. And then when they get stood up, they're like, well, I'm here already, so I might as well just kind of buy a meal.
Damn.
Yeah. So this is not just a one-off thing. So there's this whole thing on Reddit about what they call food diggers.
Food diggers.
Food diggers. And basically, it's these restaurants that are partnering up with these bot apps and creating fake profiles on all these major dating sites. And it seems like all this is coming out of India, where these agencies are now expanding outside of the country and trying to gain business from other restaurants all around the world. And I mean, I knew restaurants were getting desperate, especially obviously since the end of the pandemic and stuff, because people weren't spending money. But this desperate measure is just taking things to a whole new level. And it's like in the world of AI and bots and things like that, like who can you trust anymore on the internet? Like you vibing with someone who you genuinely think is a real person, they're really hot, and boom, it turns out that's a bloody bot that's trying to get more money out of you.
Yeah, I can't believe these restaurants are doing that.
It's just so dishonest. And I wonder like how aware restaurants are of this.
I imagine this might hit a peak around Valentine's Day, because that's only a couple of months away, right?
Oh God, can you imagine all those lonely hearts sitting in the restaurant, they're all being stood up?
Yeah, but then that could be a way of finding other people that you wouldn't have normally met.
Well, hey, I mean, unlucky for this woman that it was someone from the same sex that she just wasn't interested in. But maybe they could have got together if they'd met at the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a new type of dating.
I'm trying to think, if I got stood up, would I have a meal there? I don't know. What would you do?
I mean, it depends how much stock and effort you put into getting ready for the date, right? So I don't know.
Would you maybe have a drink and then go, because you'd feel like a little bit weird? But I don't think I'd have a full-blown main meal.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it takes a certain type of maturity to stay in a restaurant or go to a restaurant and have a meal on your own when you're not on business.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to have food by myself. But I think if I'm dressed up and it looks like I've been stood up, I'm not sure I would stay.
Would you ever go to the cinema on your own?
Do you know what? I used to say no, but I think I probably would be okay with doing that now.
And again, it's a maturity thing, right? As you get older, you're just like, do you know what?
I need no one.
Yeah, I don't need anyone. I've got myself. But the thing is, though, like these sites are supposed to be helping people get matched, and it's supposed to be easier, right? It's supposed to streamline that process. But there's so many people that we know from the kind of the Gen Z generation who are still really struggling and are really disheartened by it all.
Wasn't there that documentary where a woman had requested to have all of her data profile downloaded? I can't remember what app it was. Was it like Tinder or Bumble or something like that?
You're right. It was Tinder. So she set out to just do a data request on all the data that Tinder had on her. And she would like download the app. She would kind of browse for a bit, and then she would meet someone. Then she would delete the app. And then basically she got 800 pages sent through to her, which she printed out. And it was a massive manual of all the data that Tinder had about her. Every time she swiped left, every time she swiped right, the times a day that she was messaging people. And this was really disturbing because all these pages represented her most vulnerable kind of periods of her life when she was feeling lonely or like wanting connection with another person. And they had all this information. They were monetizing it. They were probably studying this information to work out how they can get more money out of someone.
Or, get them back into the app, re-engage, show the right people. And whilst maybe there's some good intention in trying to like, well, she's come on the app to like find love or whatever, let's try and serve people at the right time, which is going to be more engaged. So she has a positive experience with the app. But then also just having or holding that data on you, like you say, in this very vulnerable sort of time, that's kind of weird, isn't it? That you're allowing this computer in to study you.
Yeah, it's gross. And I know like a lot of people have this mentality now that like they are uncomfortable with giving your data to Google, but Google says, it's okay, you can give our data to us. We're not going to read it personally. A computer will read it. And somehow people are okay with that.
Yeah. I guess that's true because people are like, well, no one's actually studying line by line and can then go have a conversation about, oh, did you know about Sally down the road?
But what's disturbing there is what they're saying is like, we're not going to read your personal emails. We're going to aggregate that information and look at it as a whole. So to them, we are just a number. We are just a statistic in a group. But humans aren't that. Humans are individual. They're fragile. They're complex. Do you know what I mean? And to be just summed down to an aggregation of data, that to me is disturbing. Yeah. So yeah, that's all the latest things for this week. Scams on dating websites. Nah. What have you got for me, boy?
So mine this week is about, well, if you've got a mice or a mouse, a pet mouse.
A mice.
Yeah, that's right.
Mice.
If you have more than one mouse, then maybe next Christmas, if you're thinking about, oh, what can I get it? Have you thought about getting it some VR goggles?
Genuinely, no, I haven't thought about it.
So scientists have made VR goggles for mice so they can feel what it's like to be attacked by a bird.
Shit. I guess it's good training, right?
Yeah, I guess these are for mice maybe in captivity.
I'm sorry, but when you keep saying mice, it doesn't sound right.
Mice.
No, I'm technically correct, but it sounds like you're saying it wrong.
Mouses. Do you want me to say
It's
mouses?
not mouses either, but just mice. Oh, you got a picture.
A picture. I mean, this is like CGI because it's a prototype.
That poor mouse. Basically, he's got these giant lenses over his eyes. This thing cannot hold its head up, I imagine. That has got to be super light.
And I think the idea is that they can see how they behave when they are potentially about to be attacked. So they can kind of like monitor their heart and everything else and see if it's like a flight or fight kind of situation.
And what are the findings?
They've only just sort of started it,
Right.
so stay tuned.
Okay. Great.
But yeah, that's really cool. And I just thought like, well, you could just get this for all like animals, right? Your cat, a dog. And they're even going to do like situations whereby they're not just the prey, but they're also the predator.
Mm-hmm.
So show them this vision of a fly or something like that they would go catch.
Yeah.
So they'll see how they respond to that. So I thought it was quite interesting that we're going to that level of detail now.
I would purchase that for Keith, right? Because I hate being the bearer of bad news or being the bad guy when it comes to Keith, right? And you're his best friend and he's your best friend. And that causes me a bit of jealousy. But when he does something wrong, I don't have the heart to tell him off. So if I give him the VR glasses and then make it as if you're about to attack him or tell him off, I can really chip away at that relationship that you have with him. And then boom, I'll be his favorite.
Never will be his favorite. But yeah, that's it for all the latest things.
So tell me, this Christmas Day heist, what is that all about?
Well, our festive tale today dates back to the 1920s in Cisco in Texas, USA.
That long ago?
Yeah, it's almost 100 years ago.
Hang on, you said, hence the lynching. Oh, okay.
So back then, Texas, USA, it was known for cotton farming and the oil industry. The Ku Klux Klan was actually gaining momentum in Texas at that time. Prohibition would have been running for 7 years. And it was also the...
This is the root of everyone's problems. No alcohol.
It does seem to cause a lot of issues.
Yeah. However, deciding to rob a bank dressed as Santa Claus sounds like something someone would do when drinking illegal alcohol. You know, like the moonshine stuff.
That's interesting because they did get drunk before the robbery.
Oh, right, okay. Well, moonshine.
Yeah. Also in Cisco, it was also the birth of, well, sort of, the hotel chain Hilton.
Oh, really? Is that where Paris Hilton's great-great-grandfather started creating the hotels?
Yes, he wanted to buy a bank but got refused a loan. So he opted to buy a hotel instead, which was probably a really good thing, as if you owned a bank in Cisco back then, it was prone to being robbed quite a lot, as you'll find out. But in 1927 specifically, this year was also the year that Santa Claus robbed a bank.
Okay.
A guy dressed as Santa goes to a bank on December the 23rd, 1927, causing one of the biggest manhunts in the state. Some would say it was bigger than Billy the Kid, one of the most famous outlaws up until that time, which is why this crime has earned its place in the history books.
Wow. Do you think that because he robbed the bank dressed as Santa Claus on the 23rd of December, that was a clever ploy because he knew that there would be other Santas all around?
Well, I think he needed a disguise, as you'll find out. And obviously, he's not the real Santa. Santa was busy in the North Pole.
What? But how does Santa get all the money to make all those toys?
Oh, yeah, good point. Maybe a little short on cash this year. But the guy that dressed as Santa Claus was a man named Marshall Ratliff. He was a 24-year-old, and he had a few run-ins with the law previously. Him and along with his brother Lee had previously robbed a bank in Valera, Texas. However, being perhaps a bit too loose-lipped and were pleased with their efforts, they were apprehended by a guy called Chief Bedford after boasting about their crime and throwing money around after getting drunk.
Okay.
So the two brothers are sent to prison for about 18 years, but only serve around a year before they're pardoned, and they're released shortly after.
What are they pardoned for?
I don't know.
Good behavior. Oh, you're being good. Here, like, we'll take 17 years off of your sentence.
I know there's a massive number of years to be sentenced, right? And only to serve a year.
Probably because they're white and they're privileged.
Well, they are white. I don't know if they're privileged. I think they come from a poor background. So they did try and go straight and find honest work in an oil field, but nothing really came of it. And with little job prospects that they had, and they really wanted easy money, they decided that we should just rob another bank.
Yeah, as you do.
So this time they had their mind set on robbing the bank in Cisco. But Lee, the little toe rag, was too impatient and got himself arrested for robbing another bank before they could properly hatch their plan.
Okay, you don't get too many toe rags anymore, right?
I
don't use that word anymore. We should bring them back.
Little toe rag. You're a little toe rag.
What? Hang on. When you think about what toe rag is, that's quite... What is it? Oh, I got a dirty toe. I'm just going to wipe it with this rag. This is the rag I used to wipe my toe with.
I don't know. I'd like to now know the definition of toe rag. But anyway, so Marshall, now that he hasn't got his brother with him, needed a new team, and he chooses 3 other men. He first recruits 31-year-old Henry Helms, a young guy who's 21 called Robert Hill, and both of these guys were prison buddies together when Marshall served in prison before. Initially, Marshall tried to get a skilled safecracker to join his team to crack the bank vault, but his first choice got sick, so Marshall had to find a replacement. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because instead of finding someone to fill his brother's shoes, Marshall recruits a guy called Louis Davis, a 22-year-old without any criminal record, and he was Henry Helms' brother-in-law, so keeping it in the family. And so crime hadn't really tempted him up until then, but he was like, do you know what? I'll give it a shot. I need some money. And so these 4 people form the team that's going to rob this bank. But the thing about Louis David, he was like, I only want to get involved if there's not going to be any gunfire.
Yeah, okay.
And they were like, sure, no problem. But then I don't know how they could do that. How could they promise that there wasn't going to be any gunfire?
Just have no guns. Maybe have play guns.
Play guns. Well, what happens if the police turned up?
But then you can't get... Well, are they definitively saying there's not going to be any gunfire?
I think they said that we might have guns, but we won't shoot them.
Okay, we'll just threaten them.
Yeah, so I think he's a little bit naive to think, oh, it'll be fine. This will be a nice bank robbery.
It's Christmas Day, for God's sake.
So I do kind of question maybe how, I mean, he is young, so he's a bit naive. Perhaps he wasn't really thinking, because there's a couple of reasons for this. Bank robberies in Texas were so common that they would happen 3 to 4 times a day.
Shit! 3 to 4 times a day.
Yeah, I mean, it was across the whole of Texas, but that's still a lot.
But still, Adam, 3 to 4 a day.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is what, 1920s?
1920s, yeah.
God.
And so the sheer number of bank robberies that were happening daily caused the Texas Bankers Association to introduce a reward of $5,000 for anyone, police, public, who shot a bank robber during the crime.
Wow. Okay.
And not just shot in the leg or the arm. No. That wasn't good enough. You don't get a part payment for $250 for like a maimed hand or anything like that. You had to shoot them dead.
Right. So are these like bank punters who are visiting the bank that end up shooting all these robbers because they want, I'm going to get this $5,000 reward?
Yeah. I guess a way to help police the area and trying to prevent these bank robberies.
Yeah. Promoting like vigilantes.
And that's quite a lot of money, because even back then, that was the equivalent of $88,000 today.
Wow.
And so a slight side note, because I wanted to dig into this. How much does that mean? If I was a hitman, how much would I get paid for killing someone, okay?
Yeah.
And so in the UK, the average price for a hitman is around £20,000.
Where are they getting this information from? Is there some kind of money saving, like an aggregation kind of website? What do you call it? Like moneysavingexpert.com.
Moneysaving.hitman.com.
Moneysaving.hitman.com. Compare your prices for the most competitive hitman around.
Yeah, you just put in a little brief, submit your request, and this is my price.
I'm looking to kill an old granny. Oh, that's going to cost you more.
So, how they find this, I don't know. But when I was looking online, they said there's researchers. They did a post-hit survey. I don't know how they did this. And it ranged from around like a few £100 up to £100,000 for a hit these days. So the reward back then was better than you'd get for a hit today.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. So what you could do is you could just say, you could tell someone that there's going to be a bank robbery. You could say, I've got some inside news for you, right? This is a jilted lover, right? Who wants to get her husband killed off. Like, so my husband is decided there's going to rob this bank. If you're there, maybe you could shoot him dead. And then they do it unknowingly, shooting an innocent civilian. And that's how you get your hit. That's the cheapest way. And also, you probably don't need to pay the money, right?
You just get a cut of it or something, or split it, yeah?
No, but you don't have to pay anything because they've killed an innocent civilian.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's...
Because people would be willing to do it. Like, oh, it's completely lawful for me to shoot a bank robber.
Yeah, but I think if you shot a civilian, I think you would still get in trouble for that.
No, of course, they'll get in trouble, but you won't get in trouble because I didn't make him do it.
True. I mean, this is only in Texas, America.
Mm-hmm.
So the gang decide their target would be the First National Bank in Cisco. There was some concern Marshall might get recognized given his criminal record, so he persuaded this woman, Mrs. Heron, who he lodged with, to sew a Santa Claus suit to disguise him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that time of year, and so no one's going to suspect Santa. Maybe there's other Santas around. He's just going to blend in.
Why couldn't he just go to like a fancy dress shop and just buy one?
I don't know. Maybe they're less common. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah, I don't know. So on December the 22nd, the men get drunk, they steal a car, and they start towards Cisco. But I don't know about you, doing a bank robbery on a hangover, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's going to go well.
It's a bit like hair of the dog, right? You might as well just go deep.
What could go wrong? It's the next day, and downtown Cisco was all abuzz with Christmas shoppers getting ready for Christmas. Children are super surprised and delighted when by chance they get to see Santa strolling down the street.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them rush over to him and he greets them. Ho, ho, ho. He pats them on the head. And he's probably thinking, oh, maybe this isn't as low profile as I thought it was going to be. So the other thing, this is a homemade outfit. So I don't know how good it was. And he's a skinny man. He's not like going to be a jolly Santa, So I imagine if you're a kid, I'd look at him and go, something's a little bit off about
Santa's
this guy.
skinny.
What's happened?
Mummy, what's happening to Santa? And I guess you can't really pad it with pillows and stuff because you're not going to be less agile, especially when robbing a bank, right? So you got to be skinny and sleek and svelte.
Exactly. But there's, it fools the kids enough and they're like, oh my God, Santa.
It would fool me, right? I mean, I'm not picky with my Santas. I'll be like, am I going to get a present?
Yeah. Well, he's playing the part and he's trying to go undetected. And so, he sort of says hello to all the kids and everything. And then eventually they make their way into the bank. The bank manager greets Marshall and he goes, hello, Santa. But Santa doesn't respond. So the bank manager says, hello, Santa. And Marshall...
It's almost as if hang on a minute, this isn't how this goes. I've said, hello, Santa. You have to, by law, go, ho, 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 ho.
You're no Santa of mine.
Yeah, I'm reporting you. By the state of Texas law, you're supposed to respond with ho, ho, ho.
And so, the manager's kind of a little bit put out, and Marshall doesn't say anything again. It's at this point, one of the other guys shouts, stick 'em up, everyone, whilst pulling out his gun.
Okay.
And then everyone realizes quite quickly, oh, this is a hold-up. So everyone, now including Santa, has got their gun, aimed at the civilians, at the bankers, everything.
And the cashier's like, But I said hello, Santa.
I was nice to you. I think they actually missed a little trick here because the other guys, I thought it would have been funnier if they were dressed as elves. And so, yeah. But no, I thought that would have been cool.
So what were they dressed up as?
Just regular people.
Bank robbers.
Yeah. So Santa orders the assistant cashier to open the safe and begin stuffing money and bonds into his sack, which he's hidden beneath his costume, which I think is good because he's very on brand that he's brought a sack.
Mm.
The other men keep control of the customers and employees. Marshall grabs money from the staff and forces one of them to open the vault. Meanwhile, a woman on the street, Mrs. B.P. Blassingame, which is a great name.
Yeah, what a name. Say it again?
Mrs. B.P. Blassingame.
Blassingame?
Mm.
With G-A-M-E?
Yeah.
Blassingame.
Blassingame. Her and her 6-year-old daughter, Frances, had spotted Santa walking into the bank. And in Frances's excitement, she's like, oh, can we go in? And so they head in for a closer look and then, to see Santa, not knowing that the robbery was in progress. And so this poor kid is now scarred for life because Santa's there with a gun threatening these staff. And the mum's like, oh, God, what's going on? And so...
Way to ruin Christmas for your whole life, right? All I wanted was a Barbie.
And so as soon as the mother realizes what's going on, she pushes her way through the crowd and she pushes her kid outside and she manages to get outside without being shot herself, right?
Okay.
And as she's running down the street and she's screaming for help and she travels just a matter of yards before she's at City Hall and the police department, alerting Chief of Police, Chief Bedford, the one that put Marshall away about a year ago.
Oh, okay, so he's aware of this person.
Yeah. Which I think is kind of strange that they've chosen a bank which is quite close to a police station.
Yeah, it's not well. I mean, remember, they're hungover. And they don't sound like the brightest people in the world.
No, you'll see that
they've made few mistakes already.
Already, yeah.
And still, they've not handed out any presents. That's probably the biggest mistake.
So yeah, what they were thinking, I don't know. It's not how you rob a bank. But anyway, Chief Bedford takes his gun and makes his way to the bank with two of his officers, R.T. Reddies and George Carmichael, to cover the back door and also the alleyway where the bank is. But back inside the bank, one of the men with an automatic weapon in each hand growled at the bookkeeper, "Don't look at me." But by this time, Santa Claus had filled his sack with the equivalent of 2.8 million in today's money.
Wow. Don't look at me.
I know, yeah.
That reminds me of this time when we were driving along. We were going to a pub in Scotland, and my mom was traveling in a different car with my sister, and they were gone ages. We're like, where were they? Like, where are they? They were only like just behind us. And then we came out the car park and we see a car park down the road, and it's my mum and my sister. And we walk down and there's my mum outside of the car. She's been sick everywhere. And I remember just being really amazed, like, what's happening? And I'm looking down at the vomit on the floor and she was like, "Don't look at it!" And we were like, shit.
To be honest, it's one of my fondest memories of your mum.
Mine too. I felt so bad for her because she was so caustic. But yeah, when someone says don't look at it, they mean it.
Don't look at it.
Don't look at him.
So it's unclear who fires the initial shot, but according to certain accounts, Marshall may have fired the first, hitting the bank's plate glass window or potentially signalling to someone else that the robbery was successful. Mm-hmm. Others think that maybe someone had shot from the outside because they heard all the commotion. Basically, it's not clear. But as soon as the first one is fired, then that just starts a whole cascade of bullets firing everywhere.
Oh, really?
Multiple shots continue. Now, this gunfire alerts passers-by, and because of the reward that is on offer to kill a robber in the act to get a $5,000 reward, civilians pull out their guns and start firing at the bank too.
Shit. How can they prove whose bullets killed who?
Exactly. How do you know if you've actually shot a robber?
Yeah.
Or some civilian?
Yeah.
And if there's like 10 people shooting at a robber, then which one is it? Do you split the reward? How do you know? Do you go and examine, that's my bullet?
That's probably what I was just going to say. They probably have to do some forensics on the bullets. Not that they can probably do forensics. Maybe they can do a degree of it.
I don't know. Do you have your own initials on your bullet?
I think like each barrel of the gun has got a unique signature kind of like print or whatever. So when the bullet fires out, they can see like the track marks of the bullet kind of scraping against the inside of the barrel, which would be unique.
Okay, but I wonder how much detail they went into.
I mean, if the reward is $5,000,
yeah,
at that time they're probably going to pay to get that done, right? That's a lot of money.
Maybe, yeah. Now, in the lead up to Christmas, if you were shopping in downtown Cisco, you might have been a bit ill prepared for today. You know, you weren't thinking about, I'm going to catch a robber.
No.
You're thinking about, I don't know, making a trifle for the in-laws, okay? So you didn't pack your pocket pistol. But don't worry, the local hardware stores got you covered as they were handing out pistols and rifles to people that didn't want to miss out on this opportunity.
Just handing it out?
Well, that's what they say. So I don't know if they had to pay for them or not, but I think they were like,
come back later and then you can pay for it.
Yeah, or something like that. Or we'll split the reward or something. I don't know. Only in Texas. Now, this is absolutely chaos. Shots are being fired everywhere. It's reported that up to 100 people turned up that day with guns.
Man, and what time frame is all this all happening within?
I think it's just within a couple of hours. So it's not like a lot of time.
So they're still in the bank? They've been in the bank for like 2 hours?
I don't know exactly, but enough time for 100 people to turn up with their gun, start shooting.
And for the word to spread, just from that one woman running down the road. Where's her kid, by the way?
I think she's fine.
Okay.
She's safe. So a rifle bullet strikes one of the fugitives held in the bank, which is obviously it's not going to take long before someone else actually gets hurt, someone innocent. So they're shot in the arm and they get spun around. A bullet hits a cashier in the jaw, while another one hits a bank customer in the leg. So now the robbers want to escape, essentially, and they've got a few hostages with them. And they start forcing people out the back door as they want to try and run to the car. And so they manage to pick up a couple of girls, Laverne Corner, who's 12, and Emma Mae Robertson, who's 10, and they use them as shields in order to get into their getaway car. And there are people still firing. They're like, don't worry about them. We won that $5,000.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good Christmas this year.
Shit.
In the alley, Chief Bedford and Deputy George Carmichael were mortally wounded. At the head of the alley, Police Chief Bedford stood in the way as trying to block the robbers from going anywhere. And unfortunately, he is shot several times, 5 times, I think it was. And he sadly dies
on the scene
on Christmas Day.
Oh, damn.
Carmichael dies almost a month later on January the 17th. 6 other civilians are also wounded. And Davis, the young robber who didn't want any gunfire, was severely wounded in the shootout, while Marshall suffered from 2 wounds, one in the chin and one in the leg.
Jeez. Oh, God. Can you imagine getting shot in the bloody chin?
That would hurt,
in the
right?
Chin.
Oh, that's like you've had toothache before. Ooh.
Ooh.
Officer Reddies runs to the police station and retrieves a rifle and begins to pursue the robbers on foot as they're trying to get away. But he's soon picked up by others that are like the civilians that are getting in cars, and basically they're all now chasing the robbers who are in their getaway car. Another thing to add is when they actually examined the bank, they found over 200 bullet holes in the bank.
Really? That's crazy. What a shootout, a civilian shootout.
Yeah.
Trying to kill Santa.
And just all the kids there are like, what's going on?
Mommy murdered Santa! I'll explain when you're older, son, but it's not what you think. It is.
So the 4 robbers are in their getaway car with the 2 girls as hostages, and it's not long before they realise they're almost out of gas.
You mean petrol?
Oh, sorry, petrol. They're almost out of petrol.
This is a UK show for American listeners.
Yeah, that's true. So basically, they forgot to fill up the tank before the robbery.
Wow,
so
idiots.
They are absolute idiots. I don't know who the getaway driver was, but surely you've got a couple of jobs, right?
You had 1 job, 2 jobs, maybe.
Maybe they shouldn't have got pissed the night before.
They should not have.
So they haven't made it out of town properly before one of the tyres is then shot at and causes a puncture, right? So they figure the best thing to do is to switch to another car, which has got more petrol and, 4 tyres.
Yeah.
Just the basics. And Marshall, still dressed as Santa, approaches a family in a car and pulls out his gun.
Oh, God.
Now, Marshall may or may not have been slightly shocked to find a 14-year-old boy called Woody Harris behind the wheel of the car.
Why would he be shocked by that?
Well, when he turns to the back of the car, there's his older relatives in the back seat.
So his 14-year-old kid just driving his relatives.
Yeah, so maybe he's the designated driver that day. They've had a sherry at lunch. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I guess also in America at the moment, you can be 15 and be driving, right?
That's true. Maybe that's not a lot different then.
Yeah,
but I
it's
just
only
thought
1 year.
Yeah, but I just thought a 14-year-old. I imagine 14-year-olds driving. I don't want them driving me.
No, I imagine my nephew, and he's 13. God, I do not want him behind a wheel.
Exactly.
God damn it.
So obviously scared, the Harris family exit the car with guns pointing at their face, and Marshall and his crew load up the car with the money, the injured guy Davis, and the 2 hostage girls. So they're still keeping them as kind of an insurance, essentially. But when they go to start the car, however, they realise the keys are missing. Good old Woody Harris had sneakily swiped the keys before running off with them with his family, so they couldn't get away in that car.
Oh, man.
So he was a smart lad.
Don't underestimate a 14-year-old. Maybe my nephew does need a car.
Maybe. So now it's too late to go after this boy. He's long gone. And they're still being chased by the police and the mob and the locals that are all trying to claim their bounty. So the gang decide to get back into their old car with the 2 girls. And it's at this point that Laverne and Emma realise that I think the robbers weren't that smart and maybe they will be home for dinner after all. But before they could help Davis back into the old car, he's already passed out. And so they decide that they're going to leave him behind in that car. Mm-hmm. But the people from the town had now caught up to the gang on foot and in cars. And then another shootout starts. And so one of the guys, Hill, he's shot in the arm this time. So 3 out of the 4 robbers are now injured.
Damn.
They eventually managed to escape with the little petrol that they had remaining in their car when they realized that they'd left Santa's sack of money in Woody's car along with Davis.
What? I don't know. Why does that sound dirty? Why, Adam? Why?
I don't know who ruined it.
Santa's sack of money. Santa's punking money.
So anyway, yeah, they've done this robbery. They've gone to all this effort. 3 out of 4 of them injured. They've now lost the money that they've stolen. This is not going well for them.
It's not. It's not going to be a happy Christmas.
So they can't go back for the money because they're going to get shot at. And so there's just, they just now have to make a run for it and get away to save themselves from going to prison. They begin throwing out roofing nails in an effort to puncture the tires of people that are chasing them. Mm-hmm. They then turn into a pasture, which is full of cactuses and other bushes and shrubs, which...
That's not a pasture.
Well, this is what...
A pasture of cactuses and shrubs. That's not a pasture. A pasture is a rolling green hill of luscious green grass with a few cows. What you've just described there is the desert.
Well, I did think that was odd, but this is how it was described when I was researching it. And I was like, a pasture. Okay, I'll go with it. I've never been to Cisco.
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, so there's cactuses and shrubs and everything. And yeah, it feels spiky, to be honest. And these shrubs and bushes just get denser and denser to the point that it's impossible for them to go any further by car. Plus, they didn't have much fuel anyway. So upon hearing the cars coming for them, they get out of the car and they decide that actually the best thing to do is just escape on foot. Mm-hmm. They abandon the car and they actually leave the hostages behind. I guess they're just going to slow them down. They don't need them anymore. But they do tell the girls to lie down and stay in the car whilst they run away and to not look where they go.
Okay.
Of course, they're young girls.
They're curious about the male form.
I just meant they're going to peek to see, like, actually, if they're going to where they're going to go. I don't think this is a moment of awakening for them.
I like my version better.
So they see where they're going, and so when the police and everyone do like catch up, they can easily go, yeah, they went that way.
Yeah. Okay. And damn, they were fine.
How they run. It's also at this time that the young guy, Davis, he's taken to hospital, and when he comes to, he refuses to reveal who the rest of the gang are and details from the robbery. However, once doctors tell him his odds of survival aren't great, I guess he wants to clear his conscience, and he tells them everything before he succumbs to his injuries.
Yeah, I mean, what it takes to just get people to yap, right, isn't much. It's like people will just, yeah.
You're going to die. You might as well just tell us.
Yeah, just tell us.
Which is really sad, because he didn't want to get caught up in this, and whilst obviously he is a criminal now, he didn't want to like hurt anyone or anything like that. So I do feel sorry how he got dragged into this, essentially.
But how sorry can you be for him? He has tainted an entire generation of young people in that area about what Santa is. Santa's now this villain, right?
Yeah, there was some confused kids apparently this Christmas. There was like some carol services afterwards, and people were like, I don't know if I want to leave out mince pies for Santa this year.
Santa's been real bad. He's on the naughty list.
Yeah. The wounded fugitives escape throughout the bush, and 3 days go by. Christmas comes and goes, and the gang manage to stay out of sight whilst police officers from 10 counties are on the hunt, which is why it quickly became the biggest manhunt in Tesco. I mean, Tesco.
Take two.
They're holding out on the frozen aisle.
So for our American listeners, because there are many, Tesco's is like Walgreens. Is it Walgreens? Walmart, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not in Tesco. Oh dear. Anyway, so the guys, they're still out in the wild, and they come very close to capture. In fact, one of the search party stands on this giant rock, and the robbers are hiding underneath it, but they don't manage to find them or anything. So they managed to do like a good job of like keeping, in the shadows.
Do you know, that's like always the most intense scene, right? When there's like a hunt for people, and like you see it in Game of Thrones, you see it in like so many other films.
Yeah.
There's someone searching for them, but they're just below kind of like the root of the tree or behind a boulder, and they're right there.
Yeah, and you always think, of course, you just go around the rock, right? But actually, this is a real life situation where this happened.
Yeah, it actually happened.
Yeah. So the three guys, they managed to steal 2 more cars, and they hold one of the drivers hostage, a guy called Carl Wiley, and they made him drive for like 24 hours. As they steal the car, Carl's dad fires his shotgun, which ends up striking his son, but he does survive, so it's okay.
Shot his son. Oh, God.
They just don't care about who they hit.
Can you imagine? It's like, Carl, don't tell Mum. Don't tell her. Like, this just between us. It's our little secret, right? It's our little bonding experience. Don't tell your Mum I shot you, please. Please. I'll buy you a motorbike.
Carl recalls...
I'd hold that against my dad, always. I'll be like, Dad, can I stay out late tonight? It's like, no, you got school in the morning. And I'm like... Oh, this bullet wound is really acting up. I think maybe I should get Mummy to look at it. Like, yes, okay, you can go out tonight.
Do you remember that time I lost my arm?
God.
But Carl recalls they had a sack which contained a rifle, several shotguns, a pistol.
Actually, I want to tell a story. Wait, I
Can I
want to
finish
tell
my-
a story about Carl Wiley.
Well, can I finish this bit?
No, because it's related, and then you can cut it in or you can take it out.
Right, fine.
So it's always great to have the upper hand when your parents do something really mean to you, and you can hold it against them. So one day,
Oh, God.
I was, me and my mom were in an argument, and I remember I swore at her, and she come running after me, right? So I ran around the swimming pool to the other side of the swimming pool, and she was on this end. So every time she tried to run around the swimming pool, I would just kind of mirror where she was, but on the opposite side so she can catch me. And then when I got to the other end, I just ran off out the gate, and like 4 hours went by, and I came home. And as I was coming home, I opened the gate real slow, right? And I snuck through the gate, and she was hiding right behind the corner, and she went to grab me. But when she went to grab me, her nail gripped my lip, and it ripped my lip open, and I had this big old flappy bit of skin
Ew.
hanging. And my mom felt awful. She felt so awful. And I remember later that evening, I went up to her and I said to her, all sniffly, I went, Mummy, what do I tell people happened at school tomorrow? And she cried. She felt awful.
That's terrible.
It's awful. So yeah, like Carl, if you play your cards right, you can get anything you want. You want that new Tetris game? You get it. You milk that. So yeah, just a little bit of advice for all them kind of young alpha generation listeners out there. Play the game.
I think plenty of them play the game right now. Learn it from you.
My poor mother, the stuff I put her through.
I know. Poor Janice. It's back to Carl. I don't know if he did do that, but what he does say, when he was in the car being held hostage, in their sack, he noticed that there was a rifle, several shotguns, a pistol, lots of ammunition, and 2 oranges, which they didn't offer him.
They did offer an orange.
No.
It's because they're for stocking fillers. They were like, Santa's going to put them in a stocking.
Well, I don't know. I just thought, like, do you know what? Give me at least a segment. I drove you like 24 hours.
Yeah, didn't give me anything.
Carl is let go, and naturally he goes to the police.
My dad shot me.
He might have said that. He tells them everything, how the robbers were doing, and it wasn't very good at this point because, you know, they've been shot, they're probably starving, they're tired and everything like that. And so it's probably going to be quite easy to capture them now. So one morning, officers spot their car. The robbers begin to drive away, and of course, a car chase starts. And there's another shootout in a field, and the 3 try to leg it on foot. Involved in this shootout was a deputy called Sheriff Cy Bradford.
Okay.
As Bradford's car came to a halt, he swiftly emerged with his double-barreled shotgun, dubbed Old Betsy, and an additional pair of shells in hand. And without delay, Bradford fired, bringing down one of the fleeing criminals. He quickly reloads, anticipating a potential standoff, but the other 2 robbers continue to run, and he starts shooting at them. He basically hits both of them, and they fall to the ground, but they manage to kind of stagger and run away. So 2 get away, and then 1 is caught. And that person that is caught and apprehended initially is Marshall.
Okay. Oh.
Santa's been captured.
Santa's in jail.
Yeah. 3 days later, Helms and Hill are caught and are taken into custody. And they are wounded, they're starving, and they went without a fight. They basically just gave up. All 3 men now are in Eastern County Jail. And that ended the largest manhunt ever in Texas.
Wow.
All 3 men were charged with murder, bank robbery, and car theft. Helms attempted to claim insanity, but was sentenced to death for his crimes. He was electrocuted in the electric chair in 1929.
What? For robbing a bank?
But people died, Kyle.
It's true.
It's true. Hill was given 99 years in prison. Hill did not want to spend his life rotting in jail, so he attempted to escape. And on 3 separate occasions, he was sent right back.
Wow.
So, I mean, if a prison allows a man to escape 2 times, how are they not learnt by that point?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, prisons are all supposed to be about rehabilitation, right? But what we discovered at the beginning of this is that all of these secondary plans are all kind of devised while they're in prison. So it's like something's going wrong. This is supposed to be rehabilitation. You're supposed to learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, they did not.
What happened to Marshall?
Well, we'll get to him. We'll cover off Hill. So Hill eventually serves 20 years in prison, and he does learn from his mistakes.
Does he? In what way? Tell me.
So he gets parole, and he turns over a new leaf, and he lives the rest of his life as a good citizen. And apparently he makes friend with Woody Harris, the 14-year-old boy he tried to steal the car from.
Oh, really?
So that's a nice end for them.
How does that even happen?
I don't know. Maybe they're in the pub and like, I recognize you.
Yeah.
You held a gun to my face when I was 14. How are you doing? How you been?
I was more like, hang on, I recognize you. Have we slept together? No, oh, I robbed you. Oh, yeah. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. I mean, that's what the gay bar's like, so.
Really? Marshall, so he is sentenced to 99 years in prison for armed robbery. But despite there being no witnesses to say that he had fired a gun in the bank or killed anyone, he was then sentenced to death for the deaths of the 2 police officers.
Oh, God.
I mean, there's a chance that the public could have killed them, I don't know, but guilt by association, essentially, it's a felony murder.
Right.
So regardless of if
Harsh.
he killed anyone, this happened.
Was he
because of him.
electrocuted?
Well, Helms is electrocuted by the electric chair, and when Marshall learns about this, he acts a bit strange, and he claims insanity and is paralyzed. He refuses to speak and mumbles in incoherent sounds, and prison officers think he's faking it, right? Like, how does this suddenly happen? And they would position his body in a certain way at bedtime, and they'd be like, right, let's see what he looks like in the morning. And they go into his cell in the morning, and he hasn't moved a muscle.
Really? Wow.
They would stand him upright and would apparently let him fall on his face, and he doesn't flinch or try to save himself. He just injures his face as he falls.
Do they know what happened? Do they know what's wrong?
Well, at the moment, they're like, well, maybe just he's, I don't know, made a bad turn, everything, all the events or the stress, maybe. His mother requests a lunacy hearing, but the residents of the county were not having it. And so the pressure from these citizens made the judge extradite Marshall to another prison. In his new cell, he continues to appear paralyzed, and prison officers now believe him. They're like, okay, he can't be faking this. And so they bathe him, they feed him, they take him to the bathroom.
Please tell me he's faking. Please tell me he's been faking this whole time.
Oh, he is good. He commits to this character like no other. Give this man an Oscar.
That's method acting.
Absolutely. Because in November 1929, a prison officer leaves his cell door open, probably thinking no harm, right? Because he's behaving.
He's an invalid. He's not going to go anywhere.
Exactly. And this was Marshall's chance. Suddenly, he jumps up, he's all mobile, and he shoots out of that cell like you couldn't believe. He's running to get out. He grabs a pistol, and on his way out, so there's 6 bullets in this pistol, and one just so happens to fall out, which is weird, but okay.
What do you mean fall out?
You'll see. It doesn't. Maybe it's not properly loaded in the gun. It falls out of it.
Sure.
So he crosses path with a police officer and points the gun at the police officer, demanding the keys. And he shoots the officer 5 times. This commotion causes a second officer to come running, and he attacks Marshall and he gets the pistol off him. And he goes to shoot Marshall, but just by coincidence, that bullet had fallen out. So he has to basically hit him until he's unconscious and drags him back to the cell.
Wow.
The prison officer that is shot sadly dies, obviously, 5 times. You're not going to probably survive that. This angers local residents even more. And so when the news breaks, over 1,000 citizens arrive at the prison wanting to avenge the prison officer's death. They're like, this is enough.
And is the hardware store handing out guns?
I don't know. They've got a 2-for-1 deal. I don't know. And plus, they're really annoyed that this guy has not been executed yet. They're like, he's been sentenced. What's happening? So around 15 to 20 men force their way into the prison and Marshall's cell and forcibly remove Marshall. They strip him naked and they tie a rope around his head and they toss it over a guy wire stretched between 2 telephone poles, intending to hang him. The initial try doesn't work out. The rope snaps. But that doesn't deter them as someone pops to the local hardware store, so it is open that day, and they get a stronger rope, and they do a second attempt, and it's a sturdier rope, and they then try and hang him again, and it works. He is hung 15 feet in the air, and he dies on November the 19th, 1929.
Damn.
So there's your lynching.
Oh.
The next day, thousands of people come out to view Marshall's body that has been displayed at a local furniture store. Don't know why, but that's where they display him.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Very weird. Which I feel sorry for his mother. Yes, he's a criminal, but they come and they take his body and they bury him at a local church near them.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely, no one's ever been tried or found guilty of the lynching. It's almost like they got a pass. So apparently 2 wrongs do make a right.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Poor Marshall.
I was hoping, in my mind, he would be sent to the electric chair.
I think he would have done.
And then demanding that he wear his Santa outfit.
God.
And then when they have like any last words, I would say, does anyone want to sit on Santa's lap? And then like you would have this iconic image of Santa being electrocuted.
Yeah, well, they didn't do that. He didn't make it to the electric chair. He was
got
lynched.
Lynched instead. How awful, being lynched by a mob of people.
Texans, they are brutal.
Well, it sounds like they've like Texas is like Norwich in the Middle Ages, right?
Probably.
When they would like hang people for stealing a loaf of bread and just hang their body on the castle.
Yeah, that's true. And so, yeah, that is the story of the time when Santa robbed a bank. Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you too.
Yeah, maybe we'll do one about Rudolph next year. But when I was researching
Well,
this,
what's Rudolph done?
tune in next year. But this isn't the only Santa Claus robbery, but it is the most famous.
Yeah.
I found a couple other examples. There was one in Montreal in 1962 and another in Florida in 2013.
Ooh, I can understand the Florida one, but come on, Canada. Montreal is Canada, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and that's it. And so there's this building that still stands, the bank, and within it now, I think there is a mural and newspaper clippings of the event that day. So there's still this really big thing in that town,
Iconic.
Cisco.
Yeah, Cisco. What a great story. Who knew that? Yeah, who knew? I had no idea the story even existed. And what a saga.
I know, it's crazy, right? It's so funny.
How did
Well,
you
not
find
funny,
out
but-
about this story? Like, where did this come from?
I was researching Christmas stories, and I know we were like, well, we want to do something that's sort of festive, but you could listen to this any time of the year.
Yeah.
And so hence this one I kind of settled on because I think it's just bizarre.
Yeah.
Like you just think it's a Santa robbery, but then it just goes wrong and wrong and wrong.
It's like a carry-on film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a comedy. I can imagine Benny Hill kind of playing in the background.
If it wasn't for the fact that people died, I feel like this could be just a comedy movie or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the story.
Great. Yeah. Should we run the outro?
Yeah, sure. So we have come to the end of another episode of the Compendium, an assembly of fascinating and intriguing things. If you found today's episode both fascinating and intriguing, then please subscribe and leave us a review. And don't just stop there. Schedule your episodes to download automatically.
Automatically.
Doing this not only ensures you are always in the loop, but also boosts our visibility, helping us to serve you even more captivating tales straight to your ears. You can follow us on Instagram at The Compendium Podcast or visit our home on the web at thecompendiumpodcast.com. We release new episodes every Tuesday. And so until then, remember, he's making a list and he's checking it twice. He's going to find out who's naughty and nice. Santa Claus is a big fat criminal. Till next week. Bye.
See you later. Merry Christmas.